Hello, my name is Anne Teato, and welcome to episode 98 of the Psychic Matters podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show and leave a written review, because they help so much to move the podcast up those important podcast charts. And you can leave as many written reviews as you like, one per episode if you want to. That would really, really help me. Go to Apple Podcasts to do that, or podchaser.com/psychic matters. What is new this week? Well, life is going apace, is it not? It seems like time is speeding up. I'm still travelling back and forth to Ireland, so things are very, very difficult there, and it's all just awful. So I'm trying to keep as buoyant as possible and not think about it, really. Instead, I'm busy planning some amazing courses to teach you next year online. So do check out my website, anneteato.com, go to events, and you'll see that I'm teaching a really exciting mentorship program. The tools needed for remote viewing in psychic detection, where I'll be helping you to explore psychometry and dowsing, scrying, map reading, and understanding the secrets held within ideograms. So if you fancy that, details are on my website, anneteato.com. Or if you want something less intensive and more experiential, you might love my new 12-month course, which starts in January, called The Traveller, where we will be experimenting with various forms of consciousness travel, looking at past life regression, astral travel, future life progression, life between lives, extended remote viewing, and all kinds of spirit-led experiences and soul adventures. So if you fancy that, details are on my website, anneteato.com, ANNTHEATO.com. Meanwhile, in this week's podcast, I'm talking to Nick Kellet, an innovator, a visionary thinker, and a seasoned entrepreneur. Nick is the mastermind behind an impressive mobile application named Deckible. It's an app that adapts to your unique spiritual path. Visualize it as having a supportive mentor constantly in your pocket, providing enthusiastic encouragement and valuable insights. Not only does it mean you can carry around an extensive collection of 500 plus card decks, but Deckible transforms into a versatile resource for enhancing oneself, for receiving coaching, and for accessing business training. Listen to this episode and find out why Deckible has become the indispensable toolkit for your daily practice. Today, I am joined in the studio by Nick Kellet from Deckible. I'm super excited about this episode because I know what Nick is about to share with you is going to blow your minds. And for those of you out there who absolutely love using cards in your daily practice, whether you love using affirmation cards or oracle cards, coaching cards or tarot cards or something in between, Nick has created an incredible product that will enable you to carry 500 plus card decks in your phone so that you have access to your personal collection of cards at all times during the day without needing to bring a wheelbarrow around with you to cart them all about. Nick Kellet, welcome to Psychic Matters.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to reuse that wheelbarrow. That's so much more provocative metaphor than carrying a backpack.
Yeah, that's right, because a lot of us do. We have a lot of different tarot cards or oracle card packs, and they weigh a ton, and we love to have access to all of them. Some of them we even forget we have. Tell us, Nick, what is Deckible and how can we make the most of it?
Yeah, what Deckible literally is, like, we have all these decks, the typical deck fan who are like almost like the magicals in Harry Potter. They're a small subset of society at this point, but they love their decks so much. They own 10, 20, 50, 100 200 decks. And then when you have that many decks, you tend to forget some. People are almost embarrassed to tell people how big a deck collection they have. And they often end up lying to their partners. I didn't buy another deck. No, you've seen that before. So we've basically digitized that. We expect to get our songs from Spotify or Apple. We get our movies from Apple Movie or Netflix or wherever, right? Amazon Prime. We expect it on our phone. And we get our books from Kindle or Audible, or everything's digital. And the poor card deck got left behind. And the reason for that is because it's more intense experience. Books, movies, songs are passive consumption, right? We read, we listen, it's coming to us from the creator. Whereas a deck is actually a participation, it's an experience, it's an engagement experience. So it's a good deal harder to create an awesome card deck app. And lots of people have tried and made lots of not so cool card deck apps. They lack the feeling. Like everyone in this space is, as touchy-feely as you can be, right? And so if the experience isn't touchy-feely, guess what? If you don't feel anything, you don't love it, you don't use it, it falls out of practice, you don't use it every day, and you stop using it. And lots of people have bought and used some tarot deck apps and ceased to use them. And what we've created is something that you won't want to cease to use because it's fun and engaging. And it's really the first app. We have 500 decks on Deckible, and that's only going to keep growing. And so the randomness and variety and the inspiration that comes from having 500 decks, and we do mixed readings. And mixed readings are awesome. Everyone loves mixed readings, but they're a pain in the butt if you've got a physical deck. Because who wants to mix up 2 or 3 decks and then go and unpick them afterwards? Not just to mention they're heavy. And we could just go, oh, shuffle this deck, take that card, give me 3 cards from here, shuffle this deck, give me some cards, and mix it up. What does that mean to you? And what does it say to you? And what does it make you feel? And because it's all about taking you inwards.
So that's really beautiful. I love that, actually, because you can layer up the meanings of different cards. I think that's fantastic that you can pick and choose from different decks. That's amazing.
Right. And have you heard of the Aliman Tarot?
No, tell me about the Aliman Tarot.
The Aliman Tarot is the best-selling Kickstarter tarot deck ever. Sold 22,000 or something copies at first pass.
Wow.
It's a deck of 130 cards from 130 decks from 130 creators, something like that. Wow. So I heard of it before it was launched because I'd already bought stuff from this guy, the creator of the deck, because he just curated it, right? He didn't create it, he curated it from all the content that already existed. It was just assembled into one deck. And so I backed the project, and then I was part of a Facebook group, but the actual print production, everything was a long way off. People were too excited, the idea of all these mixed decks. And so people in the group started saying, well, hey, I want to take this deck of mine and break it up, and I'll mail it to people. So what will you trade me? So people were trading cards from decks and posting them to people. I mean, it's a very inefficient, expensive process to send a whole deck into 10, 12 different envelopes and mail it to different people. And then it's an exercise of trust for those people to receive back that, I'll send you this, you send me that, and it's all going on. But there was such an excitement and buzz because people wanted this. So everyone created, before they actually got the Aliman deck, they'd broken at least one of their decks, mailed it to other people, received cards back, and created their own mixed deck. And we were doing this exactly at the time we were creating Deckible, and we knew we'd already conceived we were going to do that as a feature set in Deckible. But this was just massive validation that this audience was super excited by it. And it made total sense to me. So that was a major source of inspirational validation of what we were doing. And it's hard to explain. Deckible is incredibly easy to explain, but really hard to explain in equal measure. And I'll tell you why. When it's because people have already touched an existing card deck app. So I tell you, it's an existing card deck app. That's like saying you've driven a car before. It's like the car I've driven before. I've got a Mini. Driving a Mini is not like driving a Ferrari, right?
Yes.
And I was just at this amazing experience last week in Poland, and I ran a little workshop there. And these are incredibly experiential performer type people. And a bunch of people came to the session and they walked away going, I had no idea. You told me this, but I did not imagine that. And when I show people what it was, they're like, this is like, and I show people a mixed deck reading. We did a card, like a card sort. So people chose their values from a deck. That was, and this one lady was like, she was choosing, it was just beautiful. And everyone was like, you can, wow. And because when you choose cards in Deckible, you can pinch and zoom them, make them bigger and smaller, right? And we would choose, this lady chose her values. And then I said, okay, now prioritize them. She said, how do you do that? I was like, well, you make this card bigger. So creativity is bigger than love, than is efficiency. And so she just like prioritized them based on how she felt. Well, when you're pinching and zooming, you are 100% in that moment. It's so, when we do yoga or when we do meditation, we always say when we do meditation, return to the breath. When you get distracted, return to the breath, right? We've all heard that. We've heard that 100,000 times, right? And when you're pinching and zooming cards, I don't have to tell you to return anywhere because you haven't gone anywhere. You are with the cards in the moment, and it's on your phone. And I smile because a lot of people say to me, oh yeah, it's great, but I really like the tactile feel and sensation of having a real deck. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, let me show you the app. And then they see it and they play with it and realize it's actually more engaging and tactile. And hey, I own 150 plus decks of my own, so I love the tactile, and I leave them around. I leave my decks out. I love board games, and I play a lot of board games. And to me, board games and card decks are art. So I leave them around my place, and because it touches me, right? And I think everyone feels that. But to actually create a transformative experience for touchy-feely people, sensorial, energetic, energy-driven people is powerful. And I absolutely feel we've done that. I am not saying we are done. We are far, far, far from done. But right now, if I ever get despondent, if I'm having a bad day, things didn't happen, something got delayed, something got whatever it is, right? Things happen, right? I just sit down with Deckible and I pinch and zoom. I pick a random card deck and I just draw from it. And I'm like, this experience is really what we set out to create. I remind myself, because life, can deal you lemons on occasion and you get some bad days. And what we've done is phenomenal. Like, to have 500 decks I'm an eternal optimist, an optimist in the extreme. I don't see the obstacles. Usually positive energy and enthusiasm passes through most obstacles, right? Sometimes you just keep hitting the same obstacle and eventually you just either wander around it or over it or through it. But to get the first 50 decks on Deckible, to get the first 10 decks was like, it's like trying to sell a fax machine.
Right.
There's no one to send them to if you've got, like, when everyone's got a fax machine, everyone wants a fax machine. But when no one, and I didn't really anticipate that, but it was really tough. And we got to 10, it was like, okay, suddenly we got to 50, and then 100 was easier, and suddenly we were at 250. We set a goal of 100 for the launch, and we got to 250. We're now at 500, and that to me is like insane gratitude of like, I have now got 500, probably 1,000 artists who've trusted us with Deckible, who have got decks in the works, they've used it, they're using it, they're involved in it, and it's phenomenal because we get insanely awesome feedback from people.
What sort of feedback are you getting, Nick?
Like, one person uses it. She's never meditated successfully, and now she's done she's nonstop. She's used it every day since she started using it. She's integrated Deckible into her daily practice, and this person's like sent me so many DM messages of like, oh, this doesn't quite work, oh, that would do, this isn't. And so we just grab all of that, and the product gets better and better as the suggestions. When you can sit there and look at a software product and think, well, we should do X and Y, but when 10 people tell you something who are actually using it, that's, I don't need to make any choices anymore. My job now is like thinking about where to steer the ship.
Yeah.
but the voice of people. And I just say to people, just join. Don't don't assume it's perfect. It's not. This is a massive project. It's getting better and better. But get on board, get a voice, drive join us on the bus and help us decide where the bus is going.
Yeah,
And
and
your
that's
decks.
beautiful, isn't it? It's community built. Well, obviously you've built it, but it's influenced by the
Right.
users, and you're trying to produce what it is they require. And it's an ever evolving business, I feel, because
Yeah.
spirituality ever evolves and it doesn't ever stay the same. But Nick, just go back a little, if you will, for those people who want to imagine as they're listening to this episode. You've talked about, let's just say, a tarot card in your pocket.
Yep.
It's the size and shape. It comes up on your telephone screen exactly as the size and shape of your telephone. You've
Yep.
spoken about the pinch and squeeze and
Yep.
making it
Yep.
bigger and smaller. But there's a lot more to Deckible,
Oh,
is there not? Because
absolutely. Yeah.
there's journals, there's
Right.
affirmations, there's sound. So
Right.
can you, if somebody was to pick a card for the day, what would it look like? To try to describe, if you can, that user
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
experience.
So firstly, this is what you asked me. You just asked me, what have I learned? Randomness was not something I perceived to be as important as it was. And so you can shuffle the deck. And shuffling is really important to people who use physical decks. So the way we shuffle the deck, it isn't just like if lots of software products do a faux shuffle, that the cards jiggle a bit and you're going to get the card you were going to get anyway, but it said it was a shuffle. Here we're shuffling the deck and you can see the cards are like shuffling. And then there's a stop button. You can play now and you can interrupt the shuffle and then that will influence what you get. So you're actually in control of the shuffle. And then that's one example. People can choose at random 1, 2, or 3 cards. Because a lot of what we've discovered is people want to just start their day with my daily ritual, my daily practice is I want to draw 1 card at random from a deck, or 3 cards, or 2. Everyone's different. Nothing's right and nothing's wrong, and they're all wonderful. And so, and even in Deckible, we can choose there's a random deck button. So I remember Get Lucky on Google, the button no one uses, but you can choose a random deck. And if you've got a lot of decks, that's important because the decks get forgotten. And it's like trusting the universe is going to bring you the message of the card you need today from the deck you need is this, right?
Yeah.
And at any point in Deckible, you could always choose the deck, choose the cards yourself, or let Deckible choose.
Right.
And to have mixed that up in one, because there's the whole spiritual divination side of things. And you can use card decks for decision making, like prioritization, choosing, ideation. There's so many ways to influence what you choose. But then as you mentioned, like a card deck is actually incredibly limiting in a very cute, adorable way. Card decks only have 2 sides to a piece of paper, right? Front and back. And then that's why we have a separate guidebook. Because if I would have put the guidebook on the 3rd side in the real world, if I could have 3-sided paper, but I can't, digitally we can. We don't have a guidebook because the guidebook is what we do. It's woven into the deck. So you draw the card. Oh, look, I've got the hangman. What does that mean in this deck? Flip it over. I've got the guidebook.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Remember the Mash's Smash advert from way back in the...
Yes, yes.
There's kind of robots. I can't believe people are actually smashing up their potatoes. And it's
Yeah.
like, I can't believe people are actually using a guidebook and not looking up. Because I guarantee you, 80% of people do not look up the meaning of the cards. And if there's other people around, there's this huge pressure. And if you draw 5 cards in a reading, you're going to look up 5 bits of the book.
Yeah.
You may when you first get the deck, but there's a point where you kind of zoom through that. And so now you don't have to worry. You just flip to it. And then the other thing is it's digital. It's a phone. It's a powerful device. So you could actually record an audio track or a video to go with each card.
So you, the user, or
No, well,
you
not
the...
currently, but that's actually a really good question. I mean, why not? Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing... I haven't actually heard that suggestion before, bizarrely, but no, I haven't. But for now, we've focused on the creator and saying the creator, like we have an amazing creator, Elena Brower, who is very well known globally as a yoga teacher, and she has this beautiful deck, it's called Daily Ceremony, and it's got I think 42 cards, and we moved it to Deckible, and the card had a really weird layout, so she redesigned it for Deckible to be a square card with one word on it. But because of the audio video capability, she decided to create an audio track for each card. So it may say, what card did I draw from her deck today? And I should play you one of these in a second. I'll try and take one out. It can say like action. Where in your life are you taking action? Where are you not taking action? How can you think about today, carry the word action with you and take it into everything you do to be more action orientated today, whatever it might say. I've made that up.
Yeah.
Hers is about that sort of length, and all of hers begin with the word and end with the word. She's this powerful, I mean, she is who she is because of she's done this a lot. She is totally time served in the art of being a yoga instructor on a global scale, and she's published many books. Beautifully done. Amazing experience to use that deck. And it's like that's the beginning of your meditation for today. It just keys you up, right?
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And then speak about the audible side of things. Speak about the journal side
Okay.
of things.
So basically, the key when you enter Deckible, and it's unknown to you when you don't know what Deckible is, but the first time you land on the home screen, what you don't realize is below the screen is a timeline of everything you've ever done on Deckible. So we never forget a reading. So when you drew cards on Tuesday a year ago, these were the cards you drew. How many times have we taken photos of cards we did in a reading?
Loads of times. And when I've read people online, I send them photographs of the cards that have been pulled.
But it's impossible, pretty much, given how many photos we take to go back to find that reading.
Totally.
And what were you feeling at the time with that reading? That's what gets lost more than anything. And with Deckible, that's where the journaling kicks in, right? So we have the timeline. On Tuesday, a year ago, I picked, the Hangman and the Hierophant, and then what did that make me feel? How did I interpret it on that day? So I've got a free form journaling section where I can type or just talk to my phone about what I felt about that. And in the middle of that, I can flip to the guidebook. It's all woven in. It's beautifully integrated. That you don't have to use all of this, but you can use it all. And everyone will use it differently. And that's the magical part of it. And so we talked about journaling. There's also meditation. There's a meditation timer. So you can pick a card and then start the timer, choose where you want to journal for, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you want. And then you meditate. It saves away the card, especially in the timeline, to say you did that. So you got proof. We at the moment, and we haven't got any alerts in Deckible. It's just you turn up with your positive intention to turn up every day to use Deckible. And so I call that's like self-guided. It's a self-guided practice. If I turn up and I remember I told you about that lady that meditated every day.
Yes.
100, 200 days now. That is self-guided. There was no alerts, no alarms, no reminders. That's, in my opinion, 100 times more impactful. That is practice where she's committed to the art of practice. But life is incredibly busy and chaotic, and it's hard to do that. So we use, if I didn't use alerts and reminders, I would have forgotten that we had this podcast today, right?
Well, exactly. Me too.
That's what our calendar is for, right?
That's right.
So a calendar is a guided practice to make you turn up to an event. I could wander through life and try and remember all those things. That's unguided. I'm sure I'm going to miss some events, right?
Yeah.
And that's the idea with Deckible. Everything in Deckible can be done guided or unguided. Right. Guided journaling is where there's a question. I'm given a prompt, whatever that might be. Reflect on your relationship with your children. What happened today? How did this make you feel? Whatever the deck is, because the deck can be incredibly specific, and the prompts in that deck can therefore be incredibly specific to guide you down a path. It could be a shadow work deck, for example, right? Or it could be, an affirmations and gratitude deck, and it's going to ask you a prompt about that. That's guided. Unguided journaling is a blank page. We can meditate without guidance. That's just silence and a timer, or you can listen to something to be guided through that process. So it's amazing what we've learned about how we can actually help people create a toolkit, a companion for their journey into daily practice. And I've been describing this since the whole essence of the timeline in Deckible. I call it my done list, not a to-do list. To-do list is what I've got to do, but what I've to done is as important, if not more important, than my to-dos. And to done is more important because you can congratulate yourself. You can pat yourself on the back and say, look, I value myself. I value my self-care and mental well-being. I invest in me. Look, I've done this for the last 100 days. I'm having a really shitty day today. I'm going to need to draw a card. I didn't draw a card for the last 3 days. Is that failure? No, because look back. Look what I've done. Look at all the things that I've done. Oh, look, you're great. You can keep going.
Yeah.
And you pick it back up and keep moving with it. And that's what daily practice is all about. But, you can use the deck or the decks and the mix to do whatever you like, however you use cards right now. If you're, doing readings for people, you can do that digitally. And then you just send them the reading. You share the reading. And that person can get the reading without being on Deckible. They can even have those cards and the reading inside Deckible if they want to. But it's slick and easy and efficient. And then if they want to buy the deck, they can, to create their own readings or get access to the rest of the deck. So it's a very simple, beautiful process. And I look on Instagram and I've seen so many pictures of people's like light camera reflection off cards. The cards look horrible.
Yeah.
But digitally, it's pixel perfect. There's no horrible shadows. It's just right.
They don't get dirty or smudged or torn at the corners. That's the thing. And you do different shapes of cards as well, do you?
Right.
Do you not?
Yeah. Yes, and that's one thing people have not used a lot of, and this kind of things, which quite surprised me. We have a beautiful hexagonal deck that I love. It's called Heart Space. Beautiful deck. We have quite a few round decks, but you can actually create a tarot deck, which is just literally the outline of a shape. You don't have to have rectangles.
Yeah.
You could have the hanged man just being the hanged man.
Right.
As a cutout shape, like a sticker,
Yes.
And then you bring in several cards, they lay over each other, and you create this beautiful collage.
Oh, now that's exciting, isn't it? Layered up imagery, and then you get your scene. What is this? I love that.
That becomes a storytelling game. I mean, tarot started as a storytelling game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the origin of it, right?
Wouldn't that be good? You could pick a card. I'm going to create this. Pick a card for the background. Out of a selection of this many, pick a card for the foreground, pick a card for the weather, pick a card for this, and then when you've got your 7 cards interlocking and they all lay over one another, then you've got a unique and individual tarot card for which you would read.
Yeah,
I've just created that. Isn't that amazing?
I have a deck. Oh my god, this is amazing! I got to tell you this story. It gives me goosebumps. I love when the universe does these things to you, right? So I was just at the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, I love the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, my God. And so it was totally last minute because my daughter's doing her MA at Edinburgh University. And so I met up with them. That was the primary reason 2 of my daughters were there. So I went to meet them, but it happened to be the start of term, which happens to be when, the festival is on. And the only place I could book at that point that was sort of near my daughter's place and whatever was a student hall's residence. Right. They've totally it's expensive staying in there, and they monetized it. It's really smart, right? I had this room, and because I had a podcast, I had a Zoom call to do, so I kind of pulled the table away from the wall to get into a better daylight situation, and I had this clunk behind the desk was an emotion wheel.
Was a what? Sorry, Nick.
An emotion wheel. That. Have you seen that? Let me find it.
What is an emotion wheel?
Oh,
Nick's gone off to hunt for it, everybody. He'll be back in a minute.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh, okay, here we are.
And so it's basically, there's 7 types. This is a common product. If you Google emotion wheel, you'll find it.
Okay.
But this was handmade by somebody.
We're looking, listeners, at a circle within a circle within a circle, divided into sections like a cake,
Yeah.
ever and ever tiny sections.
And so there's 123 emotions listed here.
Right.
And so it was bigger than this, but I kind of reduced it because I stuffed it in my backpack. But it was like, and there was also a £5 note behind there. It was funny. Like,
Lovely.
And so this came out of it, and it made me think, and it made me decide I'm going to turn this into a deck, but it's actually going to be like Venn diagrams, like circles. So I can bring the emotions onto the screen in Deckible. I can overlap them, and they're transparent.
Yes.
So the colors combine. But I can say I'm really fearful right now, so I make fearful bigger. I'm a little bit curious, but I'm very angry. Make this bigger, right? So you can express yourself visually with this deck.
Brilliant.
And it's just like, I love Venn diagrams. I have a history of doing stuff with Venn diagrams. And then here I am, the emotion wheels, discovering it. It was just, I don't know, I love walking through life where curiosity keeps you opening the door and opening the door and opening the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was meant to pull back that table to find that. It probably fell down when whoever was the last student in that room, forgotten it, where they've lost that wheel now. They're probably off on their journey of the rest of their life, right?
Yes. Incredible. Yeah. Things are meant for us, and they drop into our lives in the most extraordinary way sometimes. So why, Nick, you are in your background, your own personal history, a board game designer, an entrepreneur. What inspired you to create Deckible in the first place?
Well, I mean, there's a long, complicated story to that, but I'll give you a shortened version. That I was trying to build I was exploring, trying to find what would be my next project, right? And I was working with a friend of mine who's a coach, and we were trying to create experiences. And it's funny that was exactly the word, having just been to the College of Extraordinary Experiences. Experience is this thread, right? And an experience for the phone. I didn't feel that people, like the online course platforms that exist, I don't think they're experiences, that they're a way of delivering information. They're like the old school model of teacher on stage talking down to the student. And your modern age student wants to participate and get engaged. They want an experience. So I was creating that, and it was all sorts of ideas were flowing through that. And it was around that point that I discovered just some of the types of card decks that exist. I didn't realize, like, I know a lot about card decks because I've been researching them for like 2.5-3 years now. And I started buying them, and I was like, oh, this would work so well on a phone and a computer, because it's like, the pinch and zoom tactile nature. And I just started buying decks then I built some prototypes of how this might work on a computer and a phone, and just the beautiful nature of laying out a spread of cards is just so visual, or drawing cards laid out in a circle like the zodiac spread. And spreads are a beautiful thing, right? That was an inspiration for me. And it was then realization, I looked at what existed, and there was not a good app. And the apps that existed were like this deck, this app, one-to-one relationship.
Yeah.
Well, Spotify would not be successful if you had to download a different app for each album.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got the, ZZ Top app, and this app and that app. But no, I want to choose in the moment what I've got. And so why didn't that exist for card decks? And so that was the simplest idea, was like, let's do that. But we then said, if I'm going to do that, what would the deck want to be if it was digital? How would it be different? And that's what we've enabled. And I just think, I look at, Spotify and Audible and Kindle and YouTube and Netflix, all these platforms they're universal, because that's how we expect our content to be these days, right?
Yeah.
And even the mindfulness wellness space that we sit within is incredibly fragmented. So we've got Headspace and Calm over here with that, and then there's journaling apps over here with Diary One and and then there's all these different card decks, and they're separate. And there's lots of other breathing apps and like coloring apps, and it just goes on and on. And we were, what if we put all that together around a timeline, which is your done list, your journal entries of what you've drawn, and that becomes your daily practice.
Yeah.
And that's the magical thing, is it's card deck centric, but you don't have to be into spirituality, or you can be. And some people are both. There's plenty of people who've taken the spirituality into the workplace, and some people hate it, don't need it. We have lots of workplace decks, facilitation tools for people using this in the workplace. There are people that have created spiritual decks for the workplace. Wonderful. We're all different. We live in a world of, I want to customize the shoes that I wear, the jeans that I buy, the t-shirts that I wear. Everything is like tweak, tweak, tweak.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've created, this ultimate customizable experience for the phone, for the tablet. We serve many people. We serve the creators, we serve people who just want to use card decks themselves, and we serve facilitators who are organizing, or card deck readers, mediums that are using the platform. We're holding space for these people to do what they want to do. Bring your decks, but what do you do? What's your practice? We don't know the answer to all of that. And we're trying not to. Like, you tell us, and we'll listen to people and go, oh my God, we should add this, right? Because that makes sense, because look how people are using it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's all going to evolve, isn't it? And I love all the different genres that you have here.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at your website as we are talking, and you've got, as you've just said, business strategy cards, celebration cards, brainstorming and ideation cards, as well as your tarot and your meditation and your spirituality, all of those different things. So it's very, very varied.
I mean, I've deliberately gone and sought out, that, because otherwise, if people see one thing, we get pigeonholed, and people describe, oh, Deckible's just tarot decks. Not that just tarot decks is a small, it's a big thing, but it's the magic for me is the variety. Why does that matter to human beings? We all get incredibly bored very, very, very quickly, right? I mean, look what it takes to make an amazing movie, to capture our attention, to make us sit in a spot for 2 hours. Many millions of dollars are spent. So here we're creating some, and habits are hard work. It takes 21 days, research shows 21, 60 days. It doesn't matter. It takes a chunk of time and dedication to turn up to create a healthy habit. And so turning up and creating that, and then the risk of getting bored. I know people use a journaling app for a while, and then they get bored. So they move on to the next one. And they throw away all their work, because their work is lost in that app and it's gone. And they pick up the next app. Oh, this is great. I love this app. This is wonderful. And they use it for 2 months, and then it's like, oh, I'm bored. And they move on. Right. And what we're trying to say is, we are saying it, but we're just going to get better and better at saying it, is you don't need to leave. If you get bored, insert new deck into practice. Practice becomes vibrant and new and fresh again. Excitement, energy. You carry on. Your practice is alive. You haven't lost your history. You just choose a new deck. And it's like, that's this. I own 700 plus books on Audible. Like,
wow, do you? That's a lot.
And I love it. They're all on my phone. There they are, right?
Yeah.
It's like, when the iPod was launched, do you remember what the tagline was?
Remember the old iPod? Don't remember the timeline.
The tagline was.
Oh, the tagline. Excuse me.
It was originally 1,000 songs in your pocket.
That's right. It was.
Right? And then it became 10,000 songs in your pocket. Didn't really matter, because quite honestly, you couldn't. If you think of 1,000 songs, that's probably over 100 albums, right?
Yeah.
And whether at the time we were cassettes or CDs, we probably weren't many cassette players by that point, but we were CDs, albums, because some people were still in that space. You couldn't visualize. There's something magical in that metaphor, that statement, because you couldn't visualize what 100 decks would be. How would that fit in my pocket? That's magical, right? And we've created that with Deckible, 100 decks in your pocket. It's magical. You don't have to have 100 decks. Just one is fine. But you can begin on this journey and collect the decks that speak to you. And, we live in life where we're on a constant learning path. There's always something new to learn, and there's something new to unlearn to leave space for what's coming.
Yeah.
And I think we've moved more to a like just-in-time learning model. We learn the thing we need just before we need it, because otherwise, well, what we learned would be out of date, be contextually irrelevant to our new existence.
Yeah.
And that's what decks can do. You can literally turn anything into a course or a book. A book can be turned into a deck, not necessarily novels, but any self-help, personal growth, reflection, business book has some concepts in it that can be turned into a deck. And I don't know about you, but I have said this, it's embarrassing to admit, but I've said this many times. Oh my God, this book is going to change my life.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We've all said that. I mean, hands up, everyone who's said that, right? Yeah, we have. And then what do we do about it? We went on to read the next book and we forgot about the book that was going to change our life.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So true. And so the thing you need to do to allow that book to change your life is integration. In order to transform so that your life now has that integrated, you need to weave that knowledge into habits, into daily practice. So you turn up every day to relearn and reaffirm what was in there that got you so excited to say, this is going to, and the books that's going to change my life will be different than the one that's going to change yours. And in 10 years' time, what will change my life will be different than what changes mine now, right? So I'm constantly evolving. But if I want to instantiate those habits, if I take that, if the creator of that book distills it down into the most beautiful, visually inspiring deck with visuals and powerful words, and it's basically the best of the book rendered as 30, 40, 50 cards, whatever's necessary, with audio and video to let me see and remind me why this person, say I'm a total Brené Brown fan or a Eckhart Tolle fan, and they want to distill that down, and I want to hear Eckhart or Brené tell me about something to anchor that learning that I thought was going to transform me. That's powerful.
Yeah, really powerful.
Right. And we all learn differently. And the problem is everyone projects their own biases on the world. Like if you're a reader, a fanatical reader, but you don't listen or watch video, or you don't learn by doing, you're not a kinesthetic person, you tend to engineer, not you personally, but everyone tends to engineer the way they communicate and the things they're giving to the world through the lens of the way you learn. If you can create, and this is what Deckible does a stunning job of, and this is a happy accident, was not by design, but we're there. Now we're like the keeper of this. Our job is to cherish this lucky, happy accident to make it become more and more true, because you can read, and because you can watch a video, and because you can move things around and draw and journal and meditate, you can create the experience you need for the learning style that you have to instantiate the habits you want. All that is possible. And that's like, that gives me goosebumps when I think about that, and it feels like weirdly insane responsibility to just be the shepherd or the holder of this truth, to hold that place and space for anyone who wants to create. And it could be just, you could literally come to Deckible and create your own deck for your own use, or you already have a deck and you want to monetize it, and you want to make your deck accessible to more people, right? It's like postage has gone nuts. We live in a big world where everyone can find your stuff and they want your deck in Australia, but you live in the UK. So what do? You pay $40, $50 to ship that. Do you store stock in each country?
Yeah.
Like digitally, you don't have to, and you put it in your pocket. And this is a really, like, we have some ingrained things beneath our societal beliefs, and people print and want to love their card decks, which I'm a big fan of. But I ask this question to people a lot. It's like, when you need your deck, when you've had a shitty moment and you want to re-anchor, or you want to just, whatever your ritual is to reclaim your sanity in that moment where life's dealt you something you didn't want to receive, and where you want to be incredibly grateful for what's just something amazing's happened, where's your deck? Very likely it's at home, but I guarantee you this is in your pocket fully charged, right? And so this is your metaphoric church that your rituals and practices are designed in here for you, and they're in your pocket, and you can do all of that on the go wherever you are. And it's cool because if you think about it, if you're a medium and you're doing readings for people, you've got it, but the people you've done that for get to carry your reading on into their life and their daily practice.
It's beautiful. It's a portal to a new way of life, is it not?
I think so. I mean, I think we're sadly, I'm torn as a technologist because I love what the good things that tech has done for us, right?
Mm.
But tech has also done some bad things for us, and I think like doom scrolling is a scary word, but we've all done it, I think. And I kind of think of Deckible as design your own distractions.
I love that.
You choose. Being distracted is wonderful. It's a joy. But make sure you're driving the distraction bus,
Yeah.
not Facebook, Google, Instagram. And that's what we've created. So like people can say, don't use this device, right? Tech is bad. Let's get off. Like AA. Let's go cold turkey.
Yeah.
You can't cold turkey on this thing. Otherwise, you're going to be lonely and depressed because this is how people connect with you, right?
Yeah.
But how we use the technology for good is by creating healthy daily habits and turning up and not doom scrolling. It's about designing your own distraction, which is a case of just choose your decks that speak to you for your needs, for your world, everything that you need. Design it. And if it doesn't exist, design your own deck, right? Design the practice you need for you.
It's brilliant, Nick. It's so brilliant. So people listening, they want to, of course, they want to go straight to Deckible. What is the website? How do they sign up? What's the cost?
Yeah.
All the rest of it. Tell us
So
about
basically,
it.
it's Deckible, IBLE, like audible. You can find the app on Google Play or Apple App Store. You can actually sign up in the app if you want. And so you basically need a password and an email address to sign up. Once you've signed up, then we give you a couple of decks for free, just as you can see what the experience is. And then you buy the decks you're interested in. And then those decks you download them. So if you buy the deck, it appears in your timeline. There's the deck you just bought. You click on it, it'll download for the first time onto your phone. And then from there on, you can be in a plane, in a train, in a cave, in an airplane. You don't need Wi-Fi. You can use your deck, without Wi-Fi, journal, do drawings. And when you actually then get back to society and have Wi-Fi, it's all there, right? And so, yeah. And then Deckible works on your phone and your tablet. So it works on an iPad or it works on an Android tablet. And it's beautiful to have that space, but it also works on this. Like you can't, there's an expression people use in tech called design for mobile first. What that means is you design for this device, because then when you move from this device to this device, it's really easy to grow.
You're holding
to
up
fill
an
the space.
iPad there, just for people listening.
If you have an iPad, you cannot squeeze an iPad into an iPhone. You lose something. Go the other way. And so we basically designed something for a mobile experience. So anything and everything that I say you can do on Deckible, you can do it from your iPhone in your pocket. I love using it on a tablet. I do both, right? And in time, we're going to have a desktop version as well. That's all part of our roadmap. And there's so many exciting things coming, and so many things are possible. And it's just, I don't know, it's wonderful. I get to have crazy cool conversations with people every day about their deck project that's already created or that's imagined, right? I used to have this expression that people said, everyone has a book in them. Everyone has a book inside them, whether it comes out or not is optional, right? When I published my board game, I then discovered everyone has a game in them too, right?
Wow.
So do you have a book in you, have a game in you? And now because of Deckible, I'm discovering everyone's got a deck in them too. It's a form of creative expression.
Yes.
It's so empowering. Like creative expression is so good for the soul. I have to create every day. If I don't create something, and by creation, I could just mean taking a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
A photo where I took 5 minutes to like find the angle, the thing I wanted, and take that photo. That qualifies as creation for me. It could be creating a deck. It could be making a video, writing a blog post. If I don't create, I die inside. I need to do that. I need to fuel my existence through that every day. And we're all different. But we all have things we need to do every day to keep happy. Like it could just be calling friends. It could be going for a walk. It could be making tea. It could be all are valid. And holding space for that is, I think, a beautiful thing.
Nick, it's been brilliant talking to you. I love your sense of curiosity. I love your sense of creativity and the fact that you've created this for everybody to enjoy and it continues to create itself and you're obviously steering the ship so beautifully. Thank you for doing it for everybody. It's been great having you here. I'm sure everyone listening has just really been blown away like I am, even just hearing you talk. And I know about Deckible and I'm lucky enough to have a set of cards on Deckible. I've got my focus cards on Deckible and it's brilliant. So it's just lovely to be able to give this access to everybody who listens to Psychic Matters because I just know they're going to love it. So thank you very much, Nick Kellet.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode and that you will go to deckible.com and check it out too. You can also contact Nick on Instagram at deckible.cards, TikTok at Deckible, Facebook at deckible.com, and you can find Nick Kellet on LinkedIn. And do let us both know what you thought of this episode. I always love to hear from listeners, and you can email me directly if you like to, ann@annteato.com. That will come straight to me. As with all episodes, Psychic Matters is a deaf-friendly podcast, and I have a full transcript available on my website. Just click on the podcast tab, plus links and URLs to everything mentioned. And there are links there that will lead you directly to Nick Kellet and his work. And if you're driving and can't write down all the links mentioned, go to my website instead. It's all written out there for you. Feel free to join my mailing list also if you want to while you're there. I only send 2 emails a month and only when I release a new podcast episode, which is twice a month. And in that newsletter, it tells you all about the new podcast I'm releasing. And I also mention any courses I'm teaching in that newsletter too. So you can keep up to date with what I've got on offer coming up over the next few months. That's if you want to learn with me. I'd love to see you in class. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another exciting episode. Until then, happy card pulling. My name is Ann Teato, and thank you for listening to Psychic Matters.